Welcome to the Work in Process podcast. Thank you so much for joining me again today on this episode of the podcast. And a brief disclaimer, we are currently recording this podcast in an office space with one of the brightest minds in the world. He's going to introduce himself in a bit. And we're playing a bit of worship music in the background just so we can set the atmosphere of the room because we want it to be cozy and interesting and just
Yep.
have a really amazing, brilliant discussion and conversation. So I guess we should just jump right into it. And with us in this office space is actually a guy who is not going to be speaking a lot. Probably you might hear his voice one time or the other. His name is Victor. Amazing guy. I would have said he should introduce himself, but he's not with a mic, but still amazing guy. Also one of the brightest minds in Nigeria. Are you not?
Um,
Yeah, you're one of the brightest minds in Nigeria. All right, now to my guest. Okay, before this guy talks about himself, or let me allow him talk about himself while I talk about him. All right, so who is Peace?
okay, people. I feel honored to be a guest on this podcast and to have you listen to me. So, let's get straight into it. I'm Peace Emmanuel. That's my name. Uh, uh, I don't know about being one of the brightest minds in the world, but I would say I'm pretty loaded. Yeah, I'm
Mm.
slightly loaded.
Well, I guess you are trying to be a bit humble, but probably I'll now do the introduction of myself now.
Okay.
Actually, this guy is one of the most amazing guys I've ever come across. And the reason why I'm saying that is because to an extent, I have a bit of privilege to be close to you to a certain degree. And with what I've seen, I truly believe you're one of the brightest minds I have come across in my years of living on earth, even though I'm still a very young man. And with what you have now, there's still a lot more, but with
Yeah,
what you have
yeah,
now is something very tangible.
yeah.
So this is Peace Emmanuel,
Yeah.
a Covenant University student,
To the glory of
undergraduate, to the
God.
glory of God, also studying industrial physics. An amazing guy. I actually used to borrow a lot of books from him, and he has actually read a lot of books. And that's why I wanted him to be on the podcast. So let's start like this, please.
Okay.
When I wanted to start the Work in Process podcast,
Yeah,
you're one of the first guys I reached out to.
that's true.
Like I was very intentional. I actually reached out to you because I felt like you were going to have a lot of things to say about me wanting to start a podcast. And I could remember very clearly that it was not actually work in process I started with. I think I
Yeah,
was calling something like thoughts,
yeah, exactly.
where I just wanted to share
Thoughts.
my thoughts and all. So my first question to you will be this: What when I told you I wanted to start a podcast, what did you think about it?
Okay. What I think about it? Well, I was, to be honest, I was like, you had it coming. You had it coming. Like, this is the time. This is the time because, I was just feeling like I wouldn't expect you to do something else. I wasn't surprised you said it. I wasn't
Mm,
surprised you said it. To be honest, I wasn't surprised. I was expecting it. Let me see. I wasn't. I didn't know you would come up with it, but I knew that you come up with something very crazy. I mean, crazy in the good sense,
yeah.
and something very provocative. Let me use that word. So
Mm,
I was expecting it. I was actually in thinking slightly in line with that. Not in line because I knew that I still had my time ahead of
yeah.
me, and this is your time. So I was
Mm,
actually expecting it. Yeah,
mm.
expecting. Yeah, and I think you were already on Bowen Radio by that time.
Not yet.
Okay,
No,
you were
no, I
not
was not yet
yet.
on board. Yeah, I was
Okay,
not yet on
but
board
I
yet.
knew along the line you were on radio, Bowen Radio.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I knew I wasn't that surprised. It was
yeah.
you already had the experience, something like that. So
Mm, mm.
I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised.
Wow. Because the reason why I actually reached out to you is because we've been having series of very thought provoking conversations, and we're really sharing some insightful, deep stuff that I felt like, okay, a lot of people need to hear
Yeah.
what we are talking about and stuff like that. Thank you so much for not being surprised, actually. Um, okay, so what is your journey like with productivity and living a very effective life, even at this stage of your life? because you are
Yeah.
still very young.
Yeah.
In fact, we are still very young, and there's
Yeah.
still a lot for us to do. But
Yeah.
what is your journey like with productivity and trying to be an effective human being?
Uh, it's a very long story, but I'll try to summarize as much as possible.
Yeah,
Uh,
feel free.
I just thank God, for my parents. I
Mm,
had one of the best set of parents you can ever have because from a young age, I was exposed to a lot of things. I
mm,
was exposed to life, even apart from my parents and home in school. That was school I went to. I told you I moved with a lot of people that were 2, 3 years older than me. I was usually the youngest in my circle, so I had this view that was much more mature for my age. Much more mature for my age. I was thinking unlike you know the other children that were my age.
yeah.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So I thank God for them. I always knew. I won't say I always knew, but then I can always remember knowing that life is more than what it seems. Life is more than play. Life is more than just living. There's
Mm.
you need to make your mark on this world. You need to be, you know, an institution. You understand that
So
people are
even
still,
from a very young
even
age,
from
you
a very
always
young
knew
age.
that.
Yeah, I always knew that this life is not just to live and go. There are people that will be remembered forever.
Mm,
And I always knew one thing my parents always told me was I'm a special child,
mm,
as always was. So I always knew, I just kind of knew that I was born to be among those that will be studied forever, that will be remembered forever. I
mm.
just knew I was born to be more than just a person. I was born to be more than random, a random guy.
Yeah,
I was born to make a difference. I was born to
yeah,
do something in this life. So I always knew that. And when I was about 10, 10 thereabout, uh, because of some things I would not like to mention,
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
what my family was going through and all of that, I just that was the period where I began to, you know, stretch out and learn a lot of things about productivity, about making a
yeah,
difference. That was the point I started to know that you need to work, you know, to get it. You can't just get it by
yeah,
playing.
yeah.
You can't just get it by believing. You can't just get it by doing what
Or
everybody else.
if I might ask you, what age do you think you were around this time you started feeling these stuff?
Where I knew that there
Yeah,
was
that
work to be done.
yes,
Around
uh,
10. Around
10.
10, yeah.
Wow.
From 10
Mm,
about, yeah. So the ages between 10 and 14 were one of the most critical years of my life where I actually learnt a lot. You
mm,
understand? They were my formative years, basically, my formative
mm,
years. So
mm.
I'd always be reading books. Thanks to the school I went, they instilled in us the. I went to Lighthouse Christian School. It's a very nice
What
school.
school is that?
Lighthouse Christian Academy.
Lighthouse Christian
Christian
Academy
Academy somewhere in Lagos State.
in
So
Lagos.
it was a
Uh,
very it's a very 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 good school that instilled inquisitivity and curiosity in us. So we'll just see books. There was the library is very open, so we'll just go there and get lost in the library.
mm,
We'll just go there and read anything, any volume. There were different volumes, children books. There were books on art, books on history and all that.
yeah,
So a lot of the things I actually know now, even where they came from, that period in school, and even the stuffs I like, they instilled in me the love of books.
yeah, mm,
That was where I got the love of books from. So I would just see any book and I won't be scared to read it
yeah,
because I feel like this book was written so it can be read. So the very reason for the book's existence is so it can be read. So I'm
mm.
fulfilling the purpose of the writer when I read it. You understand?
Wow.
So I started to read and love reading books from there.
Okay.
So basically books were my teachers, or the authors of those books were my teachers. Let me say it that way. So I would read a book and that was how I started to learn about the world. That was how I
Mm,
started to learn about the world.
mm,
Dad had a library, has a library, not had, he still has a huge library where I will go and consume books. I'll
mm.
consume books. I'll consume books. And when I was in 9, yeah, I think he bought me the very first one of the first books he ever bought for me that I requested. What was the
Mm.
Wright brothers, the biography of the Wright brothers written by David Micoloya.
Okay, so that was your first experience with
That was
reading
my
books.
first experience with reading my own book.
Okay.
The book that was not mine. It wasn't my dad's. It wasn't from school. It was my own book, and I requested for it.
Still all right. Oh yeah, go on.
I requested for that book. So, uh, I started to read about. That was when I started to read selective books. You know,
So
so
that's within the age of 10 to 14, you
yes,
started
I
reading
started reading
selective
selective
books.
books, as opposed to the general books, general knowledge books I would read. So I started to read selective books, biographies, um, autobiographies.
And at that moment, do you realize that it was not actually normal for people of your
I always knew,
age group?
and I cherish the fact that it was not normal for people my age.
Yeah.
I told you they always told me I was special.
Yeah.
So
Because
I always felt like I always loved doing things that people my age didn't do
yeah, because
because I
at the age
felt that.
of 10 to 14 for me, I was just wanting to write exam and pass and sleep and wake up and watch Cartoon Network or Kids Go or something.
Yeah, yeah,
And you're already reading
yeah.
biographies.
I think I think it's just how I grew up. Even at a young age, we didn't have. I won't say we didn't have access to cartoons like that. Like
Mm.
recently, I was discussing with some of my guys in school, and they were mentioning certain cartoons. I was like, I don't know it, and they're like, "What did you do with your childhood?" And I'm like, "I just
I was
lived.
just
I'm
reading.
here. I passed through it." So we didn't really have access to TV. I did watch. Yes, I did watch
Yeah, but
TV,
it was not
but it
like
was limited.
the
It
yeah,
was limited. Yeah, and I
yeah.
think that was intentional. I think we didn't have a decoder at home till I was around 9 or so.
Okay.
So it was just the pure TV, the channels, ATV,
NTA.
MTV, AIT, and all those
Mm-hmm.
stuff, the Galaxies and all those stuff. And from a young age, I didn't really like watching Hollywood. Dad intentionally banned African magic from his house.
Oh yeah.
So we didn't really love the dramas and all, so
Yeah,
we
and
didn't really
everything.
follow it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was what else would I do? Where else would I get books? Were basically my major entertainments.
Mm.
Also, the internet. I remember using mobile devices from about the age of 2 or so. I was very techie in my childhood.
Yeah.
Techie. I was the one handling the tech of the house. I remember then, whenever we're watching TV, the DVD remote is always in my hand. The TV remote is always in my hand. So they even even those at home, they will just leave the tech stuff to me.
So you were like the weird genius
Of the house, you
of
understand?
the
They're very,
family.
very inquisitive, very, very curious. I remember
Yeah.
mom didn't want to get a gas cooker because of me, because she was very scared that
That you go
I
and
will go and
explore
touch something.
the
I always wanted. I think I've destroyed the TV once.
wow.
Yes.
In the name of trying to explore.
Why is it working? Why would you plug
I want to
something into
understand
the
why this
socket
thing is
and
working.
it's showing video? How? I just want to know.
Mm.
I was always very curious. Yeah, because that was I thought I was
Yeah.
special.
Yeah.
I believed I was special.
Yeah.
Thanks to my parents, they instilled that is special, is special. So I
Mhm.
believed I was special.
Mm-hmm.
So that was what made me want to do things that people my age will not do, because I believed that I was above the rest. Not in a proud way.
Mm.
I just believe that God blessed me with a certain intelligence,
Mm. Mm.
and marked me out.
Mm. So that was how you actually started the whole process of reading books, being
Yeah, yeah,
productive and effective.
yeah.
So thanks to your parents, thanks to the way you were raised,
Thanks to my
thanks to your dad
environment. Yeah,
environment, these things actually played a major role in the way you turned out to be.
yeah.
All right, very good, very good, very good. Let me just say this actually. So, listeners, Peace is actually coming from Lagos. So he actually came all over from Lagos to come and record this podcast with me. I'm very serious. He came from Lagos to record this episode with me, and I really appreciate it. Thank you for recording this episode with me. So, 10 to 14,
Yeah.
you're already reading books, and
Before
not just
then,
books.
10 to 14, I was already doing structured reading.
Okay, 10 to 14. Wow, you're already doing structured reading.
Yeah,
Like reading biographies,
reading. Yeah, I just started
selective
having
books.
selective
You're
book, a
selective
likeness
books. You're
for
not
certain
just
type of books.
yeah, you're not just reading because you are asked to read. You're already
Mhm.
reading books selectively.
Yeah.
My question is this now. There is like a problem in this our time and in this our age
Okay. Guess
when it comes to reading. And the reason I'm saying there is a problem, I'm not saying everybody's going to be reading voraciously, like probably the way you were doing or the way I'm trying to do now,
Okay.
or the
The way
way.
you're doing now.
No, I'm
You're
trying.
not
I'm
trying to do it now.
trying.
You're already
I'm
doing
trying.
it.
I'm trying. But there's really a problem in that people really don't want to
Read.
read. And I'm not saying reading is the only source or the only channel in which you can gain knowledge, but it's
Of
one
course,
of the
one of the
major
major
forms
ways.
in
Yeah,
which you
major
can actually
ways.
gain knowledge.
Or like the way I like to put it, reading is I think the only way you can read without distractions, without you striving
Mm,
to read to eliminate distractions. You are reading a book. I'm okay. I'm watching a video now. I can get a notification that pops up on my phone. I'm
mm,
distracted.
mm.
But I'm reading a book.
Like you are isolated
I'm
and
isolated in an
engaged.
environment. So without me striving to eliminate distractions,
Mm,
I've eliminated
mm,
distractions, at least to an extent.
mm,
So reading is very important.
mm.
Reading books is very
So
important.
okay, so I said there's a problem. Do you think there's a problem?
Of course,
You think there's a
there
problem?
is. There is.
I know we are trying. We can play our part in trying to eliminate some portion of the problem.
Yeah.
But what do you think is going to be part of the solution to this problem? Because we actually need to get people to read, even
Okay.
if not read everything, but read something.
Something, yeah.
So that at least when like I was discussing with you just yesterday, and I was saying there were some conversations I was able to sustain just because of the volumes of
You've
book I've read.
consumed. Yeah.
So I was talking to that person out of the overflow of the books I've read, not
You've
because
read.
that's who I am
Yeah, yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
So we need to get people to engage in reading, most especially,
Mm-hmm.
as a form of eating knowledge. Let me
Yeah.
use that word, as a form
Yeah.
of consuming knowledge, so that by the time most of the people from our generation, by the time they engage in conversations and engage in discussions, they have substance.
Yeah.
They are not shallow.
Yeah.
What do you have to
They
say
have
about
depth.
that? How do you think we can help in that area, so to say?
I've not really given much thought to how to solve the problem,
Mm.
but I have something to say about how to eliminate the problem.
Okay.
How to eliminate the problem, or at least reduce it.
Mm.
Is requires intentionality on the part of parents. You
On
understand?
the part of
Parents,
parents.
yes,
Okay.
parents. While a child is growing up, I'm a product of my environment. I'll say anyway,
Mm.
anytime.
Mm.
Thank God for the environment I grew up in.
Mm.
And I mean, I did not value it at that time, or I may have not valued at that time.
You were not
But
conscious of it
I
at
wasn't
that time.
conscious of it. But now that I have time to reflect on it, I'm like, okay, all of this is not. I am who I am thanks to where I'm from.
So your environment was always shaping you, but you were not conscious of how it was shaping you.
Yeah,
So not until you not until you grew up and then you are sort of a man now,
yeah,
looking back.
yeah.
So
Not
you
reflecting on it, I'm like,
you saw
okay,
the way the
I didn't come like this.
mm,
Something made me like this.
mm, mm.
And that was my environment. So the environment is how we can actually eliminate that problem. Parents nowadays, oh my god, okay, oh my, that's all I can say.
Mm,
So we just need to
Gen Z.
Gen Z. We need to intentionally instill the love of books in children.
Mm.
That's
Intentionally
basically it.
instill the love of books.
Intentionally. My parents were intentional about it.
Mm.
My parents were intentional about it. Yes, dad loved books. Dad read books. It didn't. I don't think he really read when I was a child. But I think after when he got to I think the university or even higher than that,
Started to
consume books, consume volumes and all that. So he wanted that for his children,
Mm.
and that's why his library till tomorrow is very open.
Mm. Yeah,
I go in there and take books
I'm
anyhow.
actually a beneficiary of that library.
I go in there and I take books anyhow.
Beneficiary of that library.
So it's still very open, and it will not condemn you for reading. Yeah, it won't condemn you for reading. In fact,
So you think one of the ways the problems can be eliminated is if parents are intentional in instilling the love of
the love
books
of books for children,
to their
because
children.
I don't know how you want a child to learn about productivity, to learn about how to live,
Yeah.
how to live a disciplined life, how to live a successful life without books.
Okay, so what did I have to say? Let's say, for example, like your family, let me just give a description. I'm not solely basing it on your family now,
Okay.
but a description in the sense that the environment is there, it shaped you,
Okay.
but someone you grew up from the same house together is actually a bit different from you. And you're like,
Mhm.
we both had access to these things. Why
Yeah.
are you like this and I'm like this? What do you think? What do you think about that kind
As
of
much as it's
scenario?
environmental, is also individual. You understand?
Mm,
I have to want it.
mm,
The environment can teach me
Mm.
or can try to teach me, and I choose to not learn.
Mm.
You understand? But I think if early enough parents instill that love of books in the children,
Mm.
they will grow up wanting to. They may have a rebellious period. I had a rebellious period.
Mm.
Yeah, I had a rebellious period. The years between 2019 and 2020, I had a rebellious period.
Mm.
Okay, so they may grow up having a rebellious period, but if you instill the love of books in them early enough,
Mm.
it will be very difficult to change them.
Mm.
That's why the Bible says, "Train up a child in the way he should go,
Mm.
and when he's old, it will not depart
Depart
from
from
it."
it. Wow, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so let's. We actually have been sounding serious. I'm sure people that are listening to this are like, "Hey, who are these two people?"
Yeah.
Okay, let's do this. You're also a very spiritual man.
Okay.
And I know if I start
an
asking, like,
extent.
what was your journey to spirituality? I know that will probably be like another podcast. We
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
should record another episode on probably your journey to spirituality. I will note that your journey to spirituality. Let me just ask this year,
Okay.
what is the biggest spiritual uh, habit that you are intentional about to develop? Like, what's that habit, spiritual habit that you were very intentional that you wanted to develop this year and you actually did?
And I've done.
Yeah.
Okay, I won't talk about the ones I'm still doing. I'm yet to master, but the one I have mastered is the habit of listening to messages.
Okay.
Listening to messages.
So you actually listen
downloading
to
messages
a
and
lot.
listening to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm getting busier day by day with school and all that stuff. So it's more difficult for me to actually going out searching the scriptures.
Mm.
So I can just consume what else somebody has searched.
Yeah.
What somebody else has searched.
Yeah.
I can consume that. So that was the habit I intentionally formed.
Mm.
Listening to messages.
Mm.
YouTube and all that.
Listening to messages. Very good. Very good. So what are your top when it comes to books about productivity, effective living, and stuff like that, personal development? And I don't like calling it self-help books because there's a way people have now, let's say, demonized or
Term the self-help.
ostracized self-help books now, looking as if you are trying to boycott the process of life, and then you're looking for ways to help your life and stuff like that. But that's a discussion for another day. What are the 3 top books that you read this year
That
and
I
you will
read
be
this year?
recommending for people to read?
Okay. I would say Money, Master the Game. Anthony Robbins. I read that this year, last year, but I also read it this year.
Okay.
What else? I'm trying to be selective about them. I'm not trying to generalize them. I'm just trying to pick from each topic, from each
Okay,
sphere of life.
okay.
I've mentioned one
Yeah.
finance. Let me mention one on maybe. Okay, I read this book too. The Psychology of Money.
Okay.
It was an eye opener. Yes, I
I
was.
actually want to read that book. I've not read the book before. I've not read the book before, but I'm sure it's an amazing book because a lot of people are talking about it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's pretty amazing. So talks about how people think about money, what people think about
Yeah.
money. So Psychology of Money. What other one? I've not done much reading in recent times, but okay. Yeah, there's this one. Attitude is everything.
Okay.
Attitude is everything.
Bye.
Yeah. What was Attitude? Kate Harrell. Kate Harrell.
Okay.
Kate Harrell.
I've actually not come across that book before.
Yeah.
So those are your, like, for this year, those are your,
Yeah.
like, top 3 books.
Yeah, I read a lot of other books. I read Atomic Habits again this year.
Atomic Habits.
I read
How come Atomic Habits is not now part of, like, your top 3?
because I read it last year. I would have said it my top 3 for last year. Not for
Okay,
this
but
year.
not this year.
Yes.
God. Atomic Habits is actually like my top book so far since I've been reading. The reason why I'm saying that is because James Clear is the way he wrote that book. Number one, it's simple to understand. Number 2, very applicable.
Yeah.
Number 3, very timely.
Yeah. Timely. Yeah.
Very timely, because success is actually not determined by any miraculous factor.
Yeah.
So to say, it's a function of the habits that you develop.
Yeah.
So you are successful as the habits that you have developed.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get?
Yeah.
So very timely, because
And
distractions are everywhere now. So developing an habit is actually one of the toughest things to do.
Yeah.
So James Clear bringing out that book is not
this year. I think
It's
it
not
was
this year, or it's not even last year.
2012
I
or
think it was
so.
2020 what?
12 or 13. I'm not sure.
Is it 20? I think 2017.
I know it's
So
this
those
time
are
should
like a recent book. It just like blew up,
yeah, yeah.
not quite long. And that's because it's very
Mm.
timely book. I actually love Atomic Habits so much. I recommend it for anybody, anytime, anywhere. Read Atomic Habits. It will help you. Even spiritually.
Yeah.
I'm just people be like,
Oh, sorry.
is the Bible not the top book? Even spiritually,
Habits
Atomic
are
Habits will help
everything.
you.
Habits are everything,
I'm
honestly.
serious. Because there's something as spiritual habit.
Yeah.
And the way you develop in a regular habit, so to say, is also the way you develop a
Spiritual
spiritual
habits,
habit.
of course.
There's the place of, the Holy Spirit is going to help you and stuff like that. But that willingness, that
Mm-hmm.
culture, that discipline is
Yeah.
habit based.
You,
Yeah.
you know what I think is like I said to you, was it yesterday? I said yes, it was yes, definitely yesterday. Um, Discipline is a very important element
Yeah.
in humanity. Like humans without discipline, without self-discipline, I don't know. I really don't know what to say. And it's not like we don't know. It's just that we're not disciplined enough to do what we know.
Mm.
If we actually do what we know, things will get easier. So habits are directly related to your discipline. You
Uh,
discipline yourself enough to form
yeah.
certain habits and discipline
Yeah.
yourself enough to break certain
Certain
habits.
ones. Yeah.
So discipline is, and
Yeah.
that's why if you have read the book Attitude is Everything, you can relate it with
Okay.
Atomic Habits
Yeah. Yeah.
because the your attitude is also dependent on the habits you build.
Yeah. Yeah. Very
Yeah,
true.
you build you have an attitude of thanksgiving is almost the same thing as saying, if not the same thing as saying you have a habit of giving thanks. You
Yeah.
have a habit of
Yeah.
gratitude. So
Yeah.
your attitude is actually your attitude is like a sum of the habits you
Mm.
have as a person.
Yeah.
So those two books, they're
They're
timely
quite
books.
similar.
They're, and
Yeah.
they're,
Yeah.
and they're quite similar.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. I'll actually recommend Atomic Habits for anybody, anywhere, anytime. Please get that book. Read the book. It's so simple because one of the things that made me enjoy Atomic Habits was that I could actually remember the basics of the
Mm.
book.
Make it simple, make it
Yeah, make it
obvious.
obvious, make it easy,
Yeah.
make it satisfying,
Yeah,
then
satisfying.
make it, I
There are
think,
four of
rewarding.
them. Yeah, no, I think the rewarding and satisfying is the same thing. Yeah, there should be four.
Yeah,
Make it
something like that.
easy,
Make it
make it
obvious,
obvious.
make it easy, make it
I think make it immediate also.
no,
Something
make
like
it
that.
satisfying. I know there's make it satisfying. Let's make it satisfying and let's make it easy, make it rewarding or something or
I know,
enjoyable.
I know the rewards must be immediate, something like
Just
that.
plays around that. I know somebody be like, but is that you remember? But it just plays around that 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 line of making it obvious, making it easy, making it something that will satisfy you.
Of course.
Let it be a rewarding habit, so to
Experience.
say. Yeah. So really amazing book. Really amazing book. Okay, let's just round this up. Let's round this up. What will you say to someone that is having challenges to develop the habit of reading?
Take your time. Don't rush it. Learn the value of the book of reading books. Learn the value of reading books. When you learn the value of reading books, you get some motivation, some push to actually read books. You know, when you learn the importance of books, you get the push. But don't rush it. Don't blame yourself. Just take it easy and enjoy it. That's the whole point of reading books, so we can enjoy it. We are not reading books. You know, if a book is hard, you are tempted to just drop it and just read something else. So start with simple books. Start with small books. Of course, start with some simple small books, and then follow the ideas in Atomic Habits. Just make it simple, make it obvious. Like the practices like making the book, dropping the book beside your bed, and all of that. Follow those stuffs, but above all, just learn the value of reading books. That's what I'll say.
Nicely said. Nicely said. Thank you so much for recording this episode with me. I had a
It
really
is an
amazing time.
honor. It's an honor.
Even though we are trying to just work within 30 minutes,
Yeah,
that's why
yeah.
because we can continue. But we should record another episode on spirituality.
Okay.
And I think you'll be here to do
Hold
that.
on, hold
I
on.
know Victor has been enjoying the conversation. He has been looking at us like, oh, see all these people. All right.
Victor
So I'll
is a
see you
wise
on the
man.
next. Yeah, wise man. Don't worry, Victor, you'll be on the episode. Probably when you call you travel from Delta. All right. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Peace has said it all. Even though you still need to listen to what he's saying and pick out the value from it, but I believe he has summarized everything you need to do to get into the habit of reading. All right. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.